Well, thanks for joining us today. We are continuing our series in regards to the mindset gap. We're walking through some of the top topics and trends of today's entrepreneurs, obviously specifically in the real estate space here, but everybody's kind of contending with these. We've had a number of series. We're on series 5 of 6. We've talked about imposter syndrome. We've talked about self-sabotage, the production ceiling. So we're just walking through each one of these in greater detail than the first initial episode, drilling down into the psychology of real estate and how to overcome some of the issues that we see happening quite often. Today, we're talking about specifically the hustle identity, the hustle trap. We're going to talk about where it came from, when it kind of converts from the edge of identity to becoming or the edge of activity to identity. We're going to talk about how real estate kind of amplifies all that just by its nature, and then how to kind of reframe it and use it more as a tool. We're going to talk about all this with Dr. Hall today. Dr. Hall is a public speaker, an award-winning author, a business psychologist, and an executive coach. And my favorite is the neuro nerd side of things, where we actually talk about the practical application and the execution of what we talk about. So how to actually make this stuff work. So with that, we'll bring Dr. Hall in. How you doing today, Dr. Hall?
I am quite well. I'm grateful to be here today.
Yeah, I got your tea, so you're all set.
Yes, yes.
Well, this topic we will tell the audience we don't know that there's a what did we call that? A title or a diagnosis or you know it, the hustle culture isn't yet quite.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure it deserves a diagnosis. I think my profession likes to diagnose everything, and not everything deserves a diagnosis. I think this is one of those things.
So that's a good question. Before I do the housekeeping stuff, does that mean that things that are diagnosed get more attention and should have more focus on it, or is it just because it's a little nebulous or a new thing or a variation
No,
that?
I no. When you look at the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, it really is supposed to categorize psychological and behavioral disturbances that create social, emotional, behavioral, um, and the list goes on. Economic problems in life for a
Mm,
person, and
mhm.
it has to create distress for a certain length of time. It has to be at a certain level, and as soon as you got the DSM out on the internet and people on Reddit just started diagnosing each other, it just blew up, and none of the limits that anybody put used to put on it, they just don't put on it anymore. And so,
Oh,
if you like to line up your silverware, suddenly you have obsessive compulsive disorder. If you have a bad day, you've got major depression. So I don't think everything deserves a diagnosis. I don't think everything should have a diagnosis. And frankly, I think for most things, we need to cut it out. But that's the
interesting.
subject for another day.
Yeah, yeah. Well, let's talk about today's topic. But before we do, let's get into the housekeeping items. For those of you that I haven't met, my name is Jerod Lee. I'm the associate broker and team lead here at My Home Connection, also known as MHC Realty. Our sponsor for today is our Perfect Real Estate Business, um, where we just talk about the topic of psychology of real estate success on our podcast, and we introduce a lot of other tools, resources in large part in the partnership with Dr. Hall here with life mentor coaching, business coaching, and then a lot of the things that a good agent and team needs. Sometimes in the on the case of lead generation, profit revenue sharing, and there's just other things that can really help elevate your business. Feel free to reach out to us for no obligation consultation. We'd like to see how we could work together and how we could help. But other than that, let's bring Dr. Hall in and talk about kind of the origin of this identity culture or hustle culture. You kind of mentioned at the beginning, we're not quite sure where it started. Um, and I think you implied that I might know even a little bit better.
I, yeah, I'm not a huge, I spend time on the internet, but I don't live on the internet. So I don't know when somewhere in the manosphere somebody in some sort of sales function decided we've got to sell everything as hustle. But it happened probably in the last 10 to 15 years. And the word I use it's metastasized. It was,
Mm.
it's a healthy concept to have hustle. And I can talk more about what I would consider to be the advantages of some of that attitude. But when it stops being something that helps you succeed and becomes your sole identity, that's when it becomes a problem. And so any healthy cell can metastasize and turn malignant, turn into cancer that'll eventually kill you. Um, how do we keep those cells healthy? How do we keep the virtues? How do we keep them healthy?
Yeah.
And I've mentioned it before. There's the Aristotelian mean, and the the Aristotelian mean is talking about Aristotle, and mean doesn't mean nasty; it means average. And
Mm.
what he said in his book Nicomachean Ethics is that every virtue is on a continuum, and the middle amount is the virtue. A deficit of the virtue is a vice, and an excess of the virtue is a
Mm.
vice.
Hmm.
And the example he uses is courage. Courage is a virtue. It's one of the four ancient classical virtues: courage, wisdom, self control, and justice. That's the other one. And justice. Those are the four classical virtues. But courage being one of them. And he says of this ancient virtue, a deficit of virtue is cowardice. An excess of the virtue of courage is foolhardiness.
Mm.
Both are a problem. It's
Yeah.
the moderate amount. And I think with hustle culture, we've taken a moderate amount of the two things that I think fit in hustle culture, which are initiative, drive, agency, any of those synonyms. And I would count that related to, but separate and apart from conscientiousness.
Mm.
So we'll talk about how those are alike and how those are different. But those two things are virtues and markedly correlated with success. But if you have an excess of them, they turn into vices.
Yeah, I was thinking as you were talking, and you asked me kind of when we started the show when this might have started, and I hate to say it, but I think as with a lot of things, social media has really kind of amplified, a lot of things that people took as um, good practices and good behavior, like you said, hard work. And somebody's always got to one up it, right? Pick the topic here, pick the behavior here, and somebody's always got to be the best at that and throw it all over social media to prove it. And
Yeah.
I think there's several people that did that. I won't toss around any names, but I think that became kind of the beginning of the metastasized version of hard work. Is I just got to hustle. I'm gonna outwork you, and I'm gonna outwork everybody. And look at me. And now everybody thinks, oh, I got to work that hard and harder.
Well, again, there's a virtue in hard work. There really is.
Hmm.
And so I don't want people to think I, that I'm saying anything negative about hard work. Um, it, what sets people apart who value hard work is that for a couple generations we've been training young people that it is the clever solution that is the one that you want, not necessarily the hard work
Hmm.
solution.
Hmm.
And sometimes there are problems that require just brute force strength that you just got to use the word, you just got to grind your way through it.
Yeah.
When I look at successful people, they all have the ability to get down and do hard work. Um, they Let me define these two terms that I talked about. The first is initiative or intrinsic motivation or agency. My favorite term for this is the one I heard Adam Carolla use, who's the comedian, and he says they got to have a motor. And I love that. You just
Yeah.
got to have a motor. And when you meet people with initiative, they're always trying to figure out what can I do, what's the next thing, how do I keep going, and they just get after stuff, and I'm not sure you can create that if you
Yeah.
don't have natural initiative. I don't think you can gin it up.
Yeah.
We've talked about flow and how that's probably the closest way to get somebody to having initiative is helping them find where they experience flow. But the first is that initiative, the motor. The second is conscientiousness, which is I have attention to detail. I am diligent. I work hard. I have self control. That cluster of personality factors is better correlated with success than any of the other personality factors. So, so you get a person with initiative or drive, and you get a person who's also conscientious. That's a powerhouse.
Mm.
We we've believed for probably 20 to 40 years that we're looking for people with just talent.
Mm.
And there's a fantastic book called Talent is Overrated. And if we look at let's look at a very select area. For example, um, the NBA. There are not that many people who play in the NBA. Every single one of them has talent.
Mm.
Otherwise,
They wouldn't be
they
there.
wouldn't be there. But the people who persist and continue to be successful over the years, they not only have talent, but they also have initiative, and they're also conscientious.
Mm-hmm.
They just keep after it. They do the disciplines of the practice. And so in his I can't remember his name. It's Jeff. I can't remember his last name, but talent is overrated. I think it's a
Boxer,
it's a
maybe?
group.
Is he a comedian?
No. It's this is a more like serious academic book.
Okay.
Um, no, Jeff
Uh,
Foxworthy is hilarious, but Jeff Foxworthy is a great example. He's got talent, but he keeps writing jokes. He keeps working at it. Um, anyway, everyone who's at a very high level has both talent. That's like that's just a ticket to entry. But if you're
mhm.
going to stay and you're going to be good at something, you have to just stick at it and practice and practice and practice. Um, so so those are all good things.
Mhm.
What happens is that people assume I'll just work harder than everybody. Okay, good. Provided that you're being productive in your work and you're not
Mm.
just putting in hours. We've all worked long hours and got nothing done.
Mhm.
And we've worked late into the night doing really kind of scut work, stupid work that really didn't advance the ball. So it really is, in my mind, it's a combination of hard work and correct work.
Yeah.
Well thought out, wisely chosen work, as opposed to I'm just going to work harder than anybody else.
Yeah.
Okay,
How does that go? Don't mistake motion for progress.
I mean that's a great summary of it. It's a very pithy quote. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm trying to segue into the cage side of things when it does metastasize, and when you have some talent, you work hard,
Mm-hmm.
and now all of a sudden you've you've kind of been known to be busy, to be active, to be a hard worker, and it tries to starts to transition to your identity. So I'm kind of merging, the cage and the identity. Is that kind of the beginning of it becoming
Well,
metastasized? Is
well, I,
shifting identity?
I think part of it is that, but part of it is you set up an expectation. So,
Mm.
this is a thought experiment I do with a lot of my clients, and I want you to answer just off the top of your head. Um, if you get a text, how long till you respond to it?
Oh, generally, 10 or 15 seconds.
Okay, so let's say you get an email. How long till you respond to that?
Oh, half an hour, an hour.
Yeah. Okay. Somebody sends you a voicemail. You get a voicemail. How long till you get back to that?
Um, Probably 15, 20 minutes. And I'm assuming I'm not in the middle of anything. I'm just working
Right.
along
Right.
and
We're
yeah,
and you're ballparking it. Okay.
yeah.
What if somebody sends you an unregistered U.S. mail letter?
How long before I respond to it?
Yeah.
An unregistered mail letter.
Yeah. Yeah. Something. It's just an envelope that you get in the mail.
I don't know.
N-
I don't know if I will.
Never. Right. Okay. Now hear this out. What if it's the same information in the text, the email, the voicemail, and the U.S.
Mm,
letter?
mm,
What you've done is you've allowed the means by which it gets to you to determine the speed with which you respond.
mm-hmm.
So, what do your customers learn? Your customers learn. I sent him a letter. He never got back to me. So I, based on your criteria, so I sent him an email, and that took like 3 hours. And so I called him, and that took like a half an hour. But I texted him 15 seconds. Now,
Mm-hmm.
next time they want to get in touch with you,
Text.
what are they going to use?
You can
They're
text
going
me.
to go straight to text.
Yeah.
And they're going to expect that you're going to get back to them right away.
Mm-hmm.
So if they see that you're willing to respond to texts within 15 seconds at 2:30 in the morning, guess what?
Mm. You're gonna ping me at
They
2:30 in the morning.
own
Yeah.
they own your life
Yeah.
because they know they can interrupt you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and they will get the response that they want. They're a baby having a temper tantrum, and
Mm-hmm.
they know you'll respond.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you've set the stage that this is how I respond and how quickly I respond,
That's the
and
trap.
yeah, try to unteach them that, unlearn them that.
Okay, so let me use a different analogy on the other part of this problem. One is you've trained your customers and your clients how to behave. So that amps up their expectation, it amps up their demand. And you think, well, I can do it. I can operate without sleep. So let me ask you a question. It's not particularly germane to what we're talking about, but it's going to be an analogy that'll illustrate my point. Um, when people are in college, they drink to excess. They wake up the next morning, they shake it off, they go to class. Okay? They they do this for 4 years in college and they're just fine.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere around their late 40s, they drink the same amount and the next morning what happens to them?
You're a wreck.
You're
You're
a
not
wreck. Now, why is that?
your body's coping mechanism.
Yeah, you're getting older. Your body is no longer able because it doesn't have a young and healthy liver, it doesn't have a young and healthy set of kidneys that it can't recover from the abuse as quickly.
Mm.
So if you're abusing your body by staying up too late, working too hard, never resting, never recovering, guess what? At some point your body will say, "Okay, I've had enough of this.
Yeah.
I'm going to collapse."
Yeah. So all that driving and pushing and hard work to get stuff done gets, you know, stalled out or even sometimes canceled by virtue of getting sick, and then you're laid up and not making any momentum.
Yes, our bodies have two nervous systems, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. And the sympathetic nervous system is the fight, flight, faint, or freeze system. This is a system that it activates you to be engaged in the world, to go get stuff done. The parasympathetic is called the rest, digest, and repair system. This is the part of your body, your nervous system, that turns on when you need to recover. And if you are operating in the sympathetic for too long, what happens is your immune system shuts down
Mm.
because it's not necessary in in that state, in the sympathetic activated state. It's not necessary. You don't have to fight infection. You have to fight a saber-toothed tiger. And so what happens is your immune system is turned off. So what happens is you get what's called an opportunistic illness.
Mm.
The illness takes the opportunity to get you sick because your immune system is knocked down. So so what will happen to people who live in hustle culture is to maintain that level of productivity without rest. What do they turn to?
Mm. Pills.
Stimulants.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because caffeine, they first start with caffeine, then they go to taurine, then they go to, at whatever mixture, and eventually they end up on, methamphetamine.
Mm.
And then then they get really, really sick. And so to keep at that level of pace, you have to be chemically, um, if you don't rest, you're going to have to augment chemically. And the thing about drugs is they do exactly what they promise at first, and then they make you pay later.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
So your body will eventually collapse.
Yeah. What you could take a year ago is far less than what you need to take today for the same result.
Right, right. So what your body needs is not stimulants, And again, I'm not anti caffeine. Look, I'm drinking tea right now. So I'm not anti um, caffeine. I'm not I'm not against I'm against methamphetamine. Um, but I recognize that these things have utility, but that you have to always pay a price.
Mm.
The other option, though, is that you regularly rest and recover so
Mm-hmm.
that your body moves from the sympathetic into the parasympathetic so you live to fight another day.
Well, and that's not just the physical side of things, right? Because you talk about the the slowing of your mind so you can, self-reflect and, you just got to get those distractions out. So I think that accomplishes both of those, right? You just got to rest and you got to get that alone time. And, when you're
Yeah,
not
you're
getting
you're
that, your mind goes and your body goes, right?
exactly. Your brain does not function as well if it doesn't have time to recover. Um, the parasympathetic is used to clean out um, all the ick that's in the cerebrospinal fluid that your body and your brain sloughs off from dead cells and excess excess chemistry in your brain. It gets rid of all that, and you need to rest and recover, sleep in particular, for your brain to get rid of all that stuff.
So it's a understanding of who you are, how you're built, psychologically and biologically to know how hard you can push, work hard, but then you have to monitor, you have to kind of hit the gas pedal sometimes and hit the brake pedal the other times to figure out what is it that I can do, myself to stay at a pace where I don't, my body doesn't, get sick and my mental state isn't, high anxiety or whatever would slow down that progress. I want to be optimal as I can without going over the top to where it impacts me negatively.
Exactly, exactly. And let me use a different analogy. We've all heard the story about the mother whose baby is stuck under a car and she lifts the car up. Okay, what we know is that mother had a physical capacity that she's never used before. Now, because she can do that, it's heroic, it's wonderful. We're all glad about that. Would we then recommend that she do deadlifts with cars every day?
Absolutely not.
No, that's hustle culture. You're
Interesting
telling,
analogy.
just because you can do it doesn't mean you need to do it every day. You
Yeah.
you need to have that extra burst of speed for real crises, and you can't live your whole life in a crisis because
Yeah.
otherwise your body and your brain will break down.
I love that analogy, but I'll throw one more out there, and that's
Sure.
F1. It's one of my kind of current favorite movies of the time. And in the movie, I don't know if you've seen it, but there's certain times where the not the driver, but the pit crew or whatever says push, push, push. And my understanding of that is, here's the optimal time to do that. We the sensors are reading your tire temperature and your pressures and all the other sensors of this, high performing machine is ready to be pushed. But you can't keep
Yeah.
doing that forever.
It's a wonderful analogy. You can push when all the dials are right, and you can only do it for a little while. Otherwise, there's a consequence.
Those
There's
tires are going to
always
come
a
off
trade
and
off.
you're going to hit that wall.
Yeah, yeah. There's always a trade off.
Yeah, yeah, interesting. Well, let's talk a little bit about the real estate as an amplifier. So we have entrepreneurs, and they're kind of naturally experiencing this, right? They're being encouraged to go beyond hard work to hustle culture, but real estate agents kind of have this unique uh, need to do almost everything, right? You end up being encouraged to be a jack of all trades, a master of none, right? I mean, I'm a
Yeah.
podcaster now, go figure. Then you got to do social media, and then you got to do, you're always doing something different to keep the business, keep in front of people, to keep the business going.
Hmm.
Um, and it's not helping people buy or sell, right? Right now, you and I are talking, and I have another podcast with a lender, but I'm not helping people buy or sell. But anyway, my point is, I think there's a lot of things that would keep us bouncing all over, hustling to do this and then hustling to do that, hustling to do the other thing. Back around to your original point of, I'm doing a bunch of things, but I'm not doing anything real well to keep me moving in the right direction. It's just motion.
Yes, it's just motion, and we've all made mistakes in our lives where we've done unproductive activities that we thought would be useful. Um, the thing that helps us evaluate is we look at the feedback loop. Is this giving us what we want in a sustainable fashion? And I think there's a piece of the hustle culture that's impatient. I'm going to work really hard. I'm going to out hustle. I'm going to outwork everybody, and I'm going to be real successful in about 15 minutes. Uh,
Good luck.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and some people are, right?
Yeah.
Uh, and at what cost?
Yeah. 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 I've seen some agents become successful by virtue of hard work, because if I look at them, and I'm not trying to be mean, but they just don't seem super talented. They just seem like they're always working. So I don't think we're saying hard work and energy doesn't amount to what we call in our business production or productivity, but
Of
it's
course it
it
does. Of course it does.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I want our audience to kind of, hear that clarification or differentiation, if you will. But I think what we're saying, and I'll let you summarize this because I know you'll say it more eloquently, but you know, do the hard, make sure you have the talent, right? This is what we coach to. Make sure you have some talent in this industry. And I
Yep.
would say mainly, I think the biggest talent is serving people. If you have the ability to be that resident leader, to serve people in the capacity where they felt really heard and really helped, I think that's one of the biggest talents you could have. And then you're focused on the things that are important that can beget progress. Like at MHC, my job is to create a platform where the day-to-day basics are just done. It's a platform, right? Everything is covered. The CRM's covered, the website's covered, the social media is covered. I mean, you can enhance all that, and we encourage you to leverage that and get more out of it. But the day-to-day is, go make friends, go help people, and help them buy and sell. So I guess I'm just trying to find the fine line of work hard, but work hard at something that is thoughtfully planned out and not to excess.
Yes. Yes. I think that's all true. Can I add another
Absolutely.
observation I have about real estate, which is everything's public.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
Everything's public. And maybe you can correct me because I'm not as smart about real estate as
Everything's
you, but
public.
everything's public. Your sales flow are public. The number of sales you've had in the last 12 months is public. Is it the prices here in Idaho? I don't think the prices are public, are they?
Oh, yeah. The different sites, you can go see what homes I've helped buy and sell, and the prices are there, and it's not rocket
Okay,
science
so
math, but
people essentially can figure out how much money you make. Well, gosh, that sucks. Um, then then everybody can compare, how good you are at your job. And there's human beings, we naturally like to keep score, and nobody wants to be the person kind of left behind. So there's this internal competition that happens, and in the real estate culture, because all of your production is public, it makes you feel maybe I'm going to be embarrassed if I don't do more. And if you do well, look at me, I'm better than everybody else.
Yeah.
That's what gets created. There are jobs where, if you're an engineer, nobody knows that you did that.
Right.
Whatever you did,
The
there's so
local, cubicle square or
yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, I mean,
Your boss.
you make a ton of money and you create a widget that helps a lot of people that nobody even knows is in their plumbing or in their car. And so you make money, you have satisfaction of being excellent at your work, but you don't have to compete with other people.
Yeah.
And other people aren't looking at how successful you are. So you
Yeah.
have anonymity. In real estate, you don't have that.
Yeah, I think this is super important, and I hadn't thought about this before the episode, so I want to make sure I'm not misspeaking here at all. But you're absolutely right. For me, as an example, I'm not just a producing associate broker, but I'm a team leader. So we have
Hmm.
a team of agents. So yes, for the folks that are interested in, is he a high producer, and that's what's important to me to determine if I'm going to use you or not, or whether I think highly of you or not, or whatever. Well, obviously as a team lead, that stuff's fairly hidden unless you're going to go, dig through what everybody else is making and try to extrapolate and all
Right,
that.
right.
Um, but for me, the other side is, what I would say is, um, I'm trying to figure out a way to say this nicely, but I work very hard on creating a well-rounded life, right? Your tenets of your books and the things that are important, and not being a lopsided wheel with, goofy spokes in it. So, what is a successful person? Is the one who sold a lot, helped buy and sell a lot, or the person that helped people buy and sell a lot that also has all those other areas of their lives, pretty well balanced, and, a good social life and a good, intimate life and good financial life.
You
I
don't
think that
market those
hustle
things.
culture.
All you
What's that?
market is how good you are at your job. So all people can compare are on one or two variables.
Well, and that's what I want to get through in this episode. Now that we're talking about this, is I would say, fight that tendency, because my first version of my real estate career was very focused on all that, and everything fell apart. My
Hmm.
marriage, my finances, everything, was about the mortgage meltdown period. And I had not built a recession proof career or marriage,
Hmm.
or, a lot of other relationships. And it was just
Right.
brutal.
Yeah.
And I'm just encouraging our audience, uh, what would you call that? Somebody that's an example of not what not to do, cautionary tale, you know,
Yeah.
don't fall into the hustle culture, think you're going to be, outworking everybody and you're going to show them what you can do. And then fast forward a year, 5 years, and your life falls apart because you didn't pay any attention to the other things that were actually, more important.
Yeah. It's funny. I meet some of my professional colleagues and they say they have this impression that all I do is work with, and they actually use this language, rich corporate fat cats. And
Oh, ouch.
and I
Ouch.
say, I don't work with those people. And they go, I thought you worked with successful people. And I said, I do, but that's not my definition of success.
Mm,
Just because you have a stack of money doesn't make you successful. Now, there are people that I work with who have stacks of money, but that's not what makes them successful. That's
mhm.
one aspect of their life, but they've worked on all these other areas of life. So when I use the term success, it really is it is about a full abundant life in all areas of life.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you from personal experience, I highly appreciate all that, because my definition of success and, version one of Jared's real estate career was significantly flawed, and the results showed. And I am building, not only a different career this go around, but a different life, and it's way more success. And keeping priorities is top important. And hustle culture, in my opinion, is going to do nothing but result in pain.
So let's use not an F1 analogy, but let's use another car analogy. For many years, I owned a Subaru, and I put a lot of miles on it. So I mean, a lot of miles. So I would get the oil changed probably at least once a month. I was putting that
Wow.
many miles on it, and I got to know the service staff, and if you know anything about Subarus, they make the Outbacks and the granola cars, and then they make the more high performance cars. Well, in that era, the guys getting the high performance cars would use nitrous oxide to make them go faster. And every time I go talk to the service crew and get my oil change, they go, "Yeah, we got another person to use nitrous in their car." And I go, "What does that do?" And he goes, "It burns out every gasket." And
Mm,
so they have to go and replace all the gaskets in the whole engine. I mean, it just pretty much destroys it destroys everything that connects the engine together. I mean, it's a great analogy. Hustle culture is nitrous oxide in a car. It's going
yeah.
to make it go fast right now,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you're going to burn everything out, and
Yeah.
then you're
But
going to
to
have to
think
rebuild
there's
the
no
whole engine.
ramifications is naive.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And dangerous.
Yes.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, I think that's a interesting place to land the plane here. Just basically saying, if you're going to fall into that trap, be aware that there are definitely uh, ramifications to it. It can be, marriages. It can be, financial futures. It can be, long-term relationships. Any number of things. So
Physical health, addiction.
physical health.
I mean, bankruptcy. I mean, it's all on the table when you operate at a speed with which human beings are not able to sustain naturally.
Yeah. Yeah, love it. Great way to wrap it up. Well, with that, Dr. Hall, what's the best way to get a hold of you and your resources?
Yeah, best way to get in touch with me is go to my website, drrogerhall.com, drrogerhall.com. On it, you can find out about my consulting services. You can link through to Amazon and buy my books. And I have an online course, Freak Out, that is available. And I have another one coming shortly called Expedition. And if you'd like to learn more about me, feel free to stroll on over.
Awesome. All right. Well, this has been an interesting one. We've got one more episode in the series. For those of you that want to hear that series, that episode, feel free to subscribe. And of course, all our other episodes are online and available. Other than that, just feel free to reach out. We'd love to see how we can help. But thanks again, Dr. Hall. We appreciate you
Thank
coming on.
you.
Take care.